Did Scream 6 live up to the hype? Was it able to overcome the loss of star Neve Campbell? And does anyone in these movies die after being stabbed in the stomach anymore? Stick around and find out as I dig in to Scream 6. If you want to hear my thoughts on Scream 4 and 5, subscribe to the channel and go back and see those videos that are released recently. But Scream 6, to me, hit it out of the park. A lot of people were concerned if this film would be able to be good without Neve Campbell being around. I honestly think the film benefited from Neve Campbell not being around. You still had Courtney Cox involved with the young cast in a select role, which I think was the better way to go, because it really let the cast, the new young cast, really take over and tell their story and build that universe. And for that, we got a really good, enriching experience for not only the two sisters that are the main characters, but also the core four, which I know they acknowledge it's cringy, but they roll with it anyway. I think that was a good part of the story too, because not only for maybe the first time since Dream Warriors do you see multiple surviving characters from these movies, but now they're able to move forward together, and you're not really quite sure where it's going to go from here, who's going to continue to survive, when people are going to die, and I think it adds more intrigue as the films go on in a series that has really benefited from misdirection to keep you guessing. They once again ventured outside of Woodsboro, this time to, well, it wasn't really New York City, it was Montreal, Canada, along the same lines of Friday the 13th, which some have called Jason Takes Vancouver. One cool thing to note, I don't know if this is a coincidence or not, but there was a Rainbow song that was selected for the soundtrack to this movie, and the college that they use is called Blackmore, which Richie Blackmore's Rainbow, for those of you who know or are metalheads. I thought that was a nice little touch. Maybe it was coincidence, maybe not. But the new setting offers things to branch out. There's still some familiar tropes, which you'll notice. This is mostly a spoiler-free review. But it allows the film to breathe and to move and to expand into new territory. New dangers like New York City alleyways, high-rise apartment complexes. Front and center is possibly my first or second favorite scene in the whole movie, the subway. It's really cool. The movie takes place on Halloween night, so multiple people are dressed like Ghostface. You're never quite sure. And in this movie, that's been a staple. You're never quite sure who the killer is or where they're at or what their motivations are. And not only that, but there's multiple people around. It's been done in other movies before, but it was really done well. And when you watch the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about, with the lights going on and off and people moving in and out of train cars. Very cool, very well done. But it's another illustration of how Scream 6 moved outside of Woodsboro and used those new settings to create more tension. Ghostface is brutal. I would be lying if I didn't say that Scream didn't take a few pages from the book of Terrifier. And to be fair, with the success Terrifier had, I can't say I blame them. There are a couple of tropes that you'll notice if you're a fan of the Terrifier franchise that I saw repeated in Scream 6. They say imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. I don't know, I'll let you be the judge. But Ghostface is a motherfucker in this movie, and plenty of knives to the face, and this movie definitely benefited from more violent movies like Terrifier coming out in the past few years. And for a series that was really about the Yuck Yucks early on, I was really glad to see it drift into this territory. I love the Carpenter sisters. I mentioned on a previous video, callback names usually make me wince, but Sam and Tara Carpenter, Sam Loomis, for those of you who saw Scream 5, they're a really good team. Jenna Ortega is tiny, she looks vulnerable, and her big sister can come to the rescue and kick some ass, and then they eventually end up teaming up and kicking ass together. This is one of the first times I can remember in a slasher movie where not only do you have one final girl, but you have two final girls, and they become ass kickers. It works. It works. It was cool to see, and it's something different. Not only that, but I mentioned the core four. The Jamie Kennedy character, who was the horror movie nerd and connoisseur. His niece and nephew are their friends, and you have this core four fighting to stay alive. And these two sisters tied together who were on hard times before. It's stressful, but they're dealing with this grief and all this stuff going on. And Ghostface is back again. and they have to fight them together. Granted, some of the characters are a little wooden, but these two really sell the movie and really carry it, especially on an emotional level. Like I said, 6 movies deep, not easy to do. There's some wooden acting, there's some bad dialogue, there's some forced moments. Some of the supporting characters could have used a little work. I don't know what it is, but everyone's pretty. It reminds me of the mid-90s when everyone had to come from a WB teen drama, like Dawson's Creek. That was the teen era of horror movies. I miss the days of the 80s where they cast no-name people from Broadway and the New York City stage scene that were completely undiscovered. I kind of long for those days. Now everyone looks like they were hired out of a modeling catalog. So, is the movie perfect? No. I mentioned in the beginning of the video, there's become a thing in these movies which really bothers me, and I think it goes back to Scream 4. People who get stabbed in the stomach don't necessarily die.
You shall not have died in vain.
I'm not quite dead, sir.
Is someone going to be hopping around on one leg at the end of the movie getting wheeled into an ambulance, and it's like, oh, good, they survived to the next movie. Like, how is this going to work? I don't get it. Like, I'm pretty sure if I got stabbed in the stomach, I was going to bleed out and die. That's what I always was told or thought. It just doesn't make sense to me. So, some bad acting, some plot holes, some forced dialogue and moments, but mostly good stuff. Except for the not dying when being stabbed. And as a little bonus, I've already gone through all my pros and some of my cons. I'll end it on a positive note because I know I tend not to do that. I have to give credit to the Scream Shrine. It was really cool not only to see the huge display of all the different Scream outfits that the collector had. They had mementos, and they had props, and they had weapons, and they had all sorts of stuff almost in like a mini museum in this place. These films appealing to horror fans, I think a lot of people would probably dig that because it's something that was cool to see. It paid reverence to the rest of the series. It brought everything in. It kept it contained. A lot of times remakes and reboots tend to just completely wash things away and want you to forget about past details of the series just to pay attention to their movie. This movie specifically incorporated, not going to give anything away, specifically incorporated past elements of those movies and even the stab movies within the franchise lore into the story and into this museum or collection of this treasure trove. So I thought that was really awesome to see. And again, for a series that started out spoofing the slasher genre, it was really cool to see them do that and pay some respect and homage to their own franchise in this film. If you liked Scream 5, you'll dig this movie. There's buckets of blood. There's some brutal kills. There's a good story with the two sisters and trying to survive. And honestly, I forgot after a while that Neve Campbell's character, Sydney, wasn't even around. So I know not a lot of people agree, but I want to know what you guys have to say. What did you think about Scream 6? Leave a comment below. My name is bshowbrian. Subscribe to the channel. Go see Scream 6. And thanks for watching. See you guys next time.